2 American hostages have just been freed by Hamas. They are Judith and Natalie Rahanan from Evanston, Illinois. This is a new image that's been cleared through our NBC Reporting and Standards Division of the mother and daughter as they were formally released at the Gaza border into Israel, where they are now out of Hamas custody and safely protected by military personnel inside Israel. Now, they were on a trip visiting Israel when abducted as civilian hostages by Hamas. President Biden says they will soon be reunited with their family. Israel estimates there are still about 200 hostages held by Hamas terrorists. They believe them to be inside Gaza. We should note the estimates are over 20 are minors under the age of 18 and going all the way down to potentially children as they try to get their information about all of that. We have now a very special guest on this very serious story tonight. Martin Fletcher is known to many as a longtime foreign correspondent, NBC's former Tel Aviv bureau chief. Also quite relevant, and as a matter of disclosure, and also why we want to hear from you tonight, he has a personal connection to this difficult story. The 2 released hostages are members of his extended family. Martin, I want to start by saying the floor is yours, and tell us whatever you feel like sharing right now.
Well, Ari, thank you. What a roller coaster of emotions. You know, just yesterday, the story was, oh my God, what's going to happen? There's going to be a ground invasion. Will Judith and Natalie be killed with other hostages? And suddenly today, the news dribbled out. We were told Hamas has released 2 hostages. Everybody's looking at each other. I'm getting phone calls from my family in Israel. Then there's 2 women, and then it turned out to be a mother and daughter. Then it turned out to be Americans. So everything was like ticking the boxes. Wait a minute, I think we're the only family with a mother and daughter who are Americans who are being held hostages, as far as we know. So this was an extraordinary, sharing of information. Everybody didn't know what to think or what to say. And when they finally confirmed that it was, in fact, Judith and Natalie Rahanan, our family, there was, on the one hand, of course, celebrations. But on the other hand, we didn't know, nobody knew what condition they were in. Were they harmed? Were they physically okay? So when that photograph came that you just showed of the 2 of them on the border with Gaza, they seemed to look physically well, but looked absolutely exhausted, obviously, and they looked it.
Yeah.
But now they're being debriefed by Israeli intelligence.
Yeah, debriefed. Exactly. And there's a process for that you and I know about. And Martin, with regard to that, because we've covered this and here your family's been thrust into it, what is your relation to them? And have you heard a first or second hand anything from them since they crossed that border?
Yeah, no, haven't heard a word. And the members of my family who would be in touch with them haven't heard yet either, as far as I know, because things are a bit of a delay. The mother and sister went to the border to find them. They met them apparently in an Israeli army base. We haven't heard more since then. They're not my close relatives. They're my wife's family. It's her nephew's wife and their family Americans from Evanston, Illinois. But it's a close-knit family. Everybody gets together, everybody shares information. And I got to add one thing, which I really should add. Celebrations today, yes. On the other hand, today, our family in Israel, also buried somebody, a man who was killed in that same attack on that kibbutz. And his wife is still being held hostage in Gaza. So, this is one family's story. Every family has been touched of the hostages like this. This is our celebrations. We don't forget about other people's continuing tragedy.
What do you think people around the world should understand about what it means to be a family, to go through that experience or agony for a day, let alone however long this could stretch, for all the vast majority of hostages who are still, as you noted, held by Hamas?
Well, look, it's horrific. And they're not the first people in the world to be taken hostage and kept, and the family's suffering. So that is true. And I don't want to dwell too much on that. It's very personal. Everybody reacts in their own way. But what I would say, now I'm speaking not only as a journalist, but as a Jew. Families, my parents survived from the Holocaust, etc. After the Holocaust, there was this phrase, the slogan, never again. And never again will Jews be left vulnerable and helpless in the face of an evil enemy. And what happened? It happened again. 1,000 Israelis, 1,000 Jews slaughtered, beheaded, some of them, babies burnt, etc., etc. I don't want to dwell on all the horrific things that Hamas terrorists did to the Jews. But there's a sense of vulnerability among the Jews again, that it could happen again. And the contract that Israel made with the civilians who went to live on that border of Gaza in 1967, when Israel sent people there and said, populate the area, develop kibbutzim, develop communities. They called it the envelope. This will be the safety, build a security buffer for Israel, if you like, a security zone. The contract was, you go and live there, and we'll look after you. Well, they did go and live there, and then the government did not look after them. Look at what happened. So this is, I think that's the main message of this hostage situation, the sense of vulnerability and how wonderful it is to have a government and army that looks after you, and how terrible it is when they don't.